Hola, mi nombre es Carla Lizeth Macías Ortiz de la Universidad Dinamo de América. Soy del sexto cuatrimestre de la licenciatura en enfermería y en esta ocasión les voy a presentar una presentación de los corales duros y blandos, pero en inglés. Hard and soft corals. Soft corals are a group of snidarines characterized by the abstract of an internal calcium carbonate skeleton. Unlike hard corals, true soft corals have skeletal elements called sclerate. Hard corals have a solid calcium carbonate skeleton that, after dying, will become part, in most cases, of the coral's reef. Acroporals, goniporals, tubastrates, for example. Most of these species have symbiotic algae. Maintenance in captivity is more difficult than the group of soft corals. All hard corals are listed in appendix of CITES, Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species. This inconsists the myth that they are the way to extinct. It deals with that their threat is controlled to avoid their overexploitation and calls of the responsibility of not mitigating these species if we are not sure of being able to do so successfully. Hard corals. They are exclusively marine animals that do not present a jellyfish state, and the whose life cycle exclusively includes the polyp state. They are very similar to sea anemones, but they generate a hard skeleton, and their numbers of tentacles is 6 or multiplex of 6. Very different shapes, size, and coloration can be found within corals of the order. They are known as sclerating corals because they have sclerated that have the protection. This hard consistency sclerity are produced by specialized cells and made from calcite, a type of calcium carbonate. So they are said to secrete a calcium carbonate skeleton. This element provides them with the hard texture, thanks to which signs the upper Triassic scleratinang corals win for a minority participation in red communities to constitute the basic building blocks of tropical coral reefs. The individual skeleton of each polyp is called a corality for its participation in the formation of reefs and for containing symbiotic toxadelai, better known as unicellular flagellate dino in its endoderm. They are also called hermatypical corals. Soft corals are called this way because their skeleton when they do not become part of the coral's reef. This skeleton has calcium carbonate spiculate in variable spec, which makes identification difficult, even between individuals of the same species located in different areas of the colony. We can classify them into two groups. Thus, way line that adapt very well to captivity and are relatively easy to maintain. And those without algae that are much more complicated to maintain, in part due to the great ignorance that is as of them. Soft corals. The Alcyoniae are an order of corals that belongs to the subclass Autocarlae of the class Anthozoa. They are commonly called of corals since they do not produce calcium carbonate skeletons, so they do not contribute to the construction of reef, and though they inhabit them to the call soft corals and leading of skin corals, mostly fleshy in appearance, have microscopic calcite crystals in their tissues called spicules. Gauss function is to have consistency to the animal's twins in the absence of skeleton. The shape and distribution of the spicules are the main characteristic used the identification of general and species of autocorals. In addition to soft corals, this order includes gorgonians, which replace the skeleton on hard corals order scleratin with semi-rike structures composed of calcite and or substances they generally called gorgon. Conclusion. Soft corals in Mexico number approximately 50 species. Corals in tour provide substrates for algae that are of the most important group in reference due to the function they perform as food, oxygen production, among other. Thank you very much.